Hello YouTube, this is Yahweh Weeps. This video I'm going to be trying to help you to know your enemy. You need to know your enemy. Okay, first you need to identify who your enemy is. If there's another person who you see as your enemy, this is I think this could apply in any kind of combative situation. Know your enemy. You need to watch them, see what they're like, see what they do, examine them, get to know their routine and what they do, maybe even observe their habits, see what's important to them. Now, besides just observing them, and think about what you're observing too. Analyze, think about it, see if you can detect what's meaningful to them, and try to figure out why it's meaningful to them, and find how you feel about the same types of things, if there's anything that's meaningful to them that might be meaningful to you. Then besides just observation, you're going to actually need to engage them in conversation. You need to hear their voice, what their voice sounds like, and what their language is like, what words they use. It'll help you understand the way they think, so you need to engage them in conversation. Now, this is probably best done over a period of time to really get to know your enemy. You need to engage them in conversation like this. And it can start out with small talk, and that's fine, but you need to develop a relationship to where you really know where they're coming from and understand them, to understand your enemy. And after you've been able to talk to them and see what's going on with them, you need to go deeper. You need to really get into the depths of who they are and what their makeup is. So you need to talk with them. Now, it's probably will be most beneficial if you start doing that with them yourself. Now, you don't have to be honest. You can, say what you think they want to hear. But that has a drawback, because if you're not being honest, a lot of people can pick up on that, and they probably won't be as forthcoming as if you are honest. So you'll probably want to switch to being honest and let them know what you're all about and where you're coming from with things. So once that's happened, you want to get them to a point where they're vulnerable, where you're exposing their vulnerabilities. So you're engaging them so that they're being open and honest with you, and you're being open and honest with them. Out of necessity, you really need to. But to get them vulnerable, you'll probably have to start being vulnerable with them. Now, you can start off and not being honestly vulnerable, but again, they're probably going to pick up on that. So what you'll need to do is to be honestly vulnerable with them, with things that are really going on with you, that you feel vulnerable about. Then they'll probably open up and be vulnerable about stuff with you also. And you need to make sure that you're getting them to share with you what's really important to them and why, and even like past wrongs and hurts, to be able to understand where they're coming from and why they are the way they are. But really, to do that, you're going to need to do that with them also. You're going to have to share with them why you are the way you are and what's important to you. And this might even need to happen to where you're exposing whatever agenda you have. So you'll really need to have that communication going and have the relationship going, and make it open and honest and vulnerable, where you're really sharing. Getting to know your enemies. Now, there's a possibility that You may be psychopathic, or you may have some other form of mental conditioning or illness that prevents you from compassion and from developing sympathy and empathy and affinity with people. So there's a final step you need to do. You need to see that person how the Creator sees them. Now, the Creator sees them as priceless and irreplaceable and value beyond measure. That the Creator sees them as something that's priceless, that cannot be found anywhere else in all of the universe and all of creation and all of existence and all of time. They're absolutely irreplaceable, that particular person. So you need to understand and see that. And you need to communicate to them that you are the same way. There's various ways that can be done, but that's the final step. So the conclusion of all of this is, once you have done all these things, you will see and understand that the person, the human being, is not your enemy. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Unless you have mental or emotional issues, in which case you found your enemy. At least one of them. The mental and emotional issues that you've got going on. That's your enemy. Now, of course, that may not be your only enemy, because the things that you struggle with that are self-defeating, say you're cruel to people, that's probably not going to work in your favor, because people don't respond well to that. That's making enemies for yourself, which is not conducive to your own well-being. So that's really actually foolish and not very intelligent. So the things that you do that either hurt others or hurt yourself, that's your enemy. Now, thankfully in all this, you're not alone in trying to defeat your enemy. You have the most powerful proponent, supporter, who is in your favor and who's working for your benefit, and who is easily able to defeat the enemies that I'm talking about, which is, who I'm talking about is the Creator. He's in your favor. Now, sometimes he may seem like an enemy, because you know that he's in absolute control over everything that happens. So if you are suffering, or if you have difficulty, you know that he's ultimately responsible. However, you also know that the situation applies just like when a child is learning to walk, and they're starting to walk across the floor to the other parent. For the first time they've ever done it, they're so excited, and then they hit the floor, boom, it hurts. Feelings of betrayal, feelings of, why did you do this to me? Well, it's like that with human beings and the Creator, except on a much grander scale. And if you're an adult, you understand what I'm talking about. But just like the child can't see and understand exactly what's going on when they hit the floor, they don't understand all of the can't think of the word. All of the aspects of the reality of the situation, so we cannot understand all of the aspects of the reality of our situation. So it becomes a huge matter of trust, that you have to trust the Creator when He says that He's love, and He loves you, that He actually really does love you, even when you hit the floor. So, that's one enemy. Now, there's also what in Hebrew is called shaitan, but actually means adversary or enemy. That's the being's title, is shaitan, enemy, adversary. And the being is the power and being that is the enemy of all humanity. And that particular enemy, so besides the enemies that you have to deal with yourself, you have that particular enemy whose function, his job, is to try to trip you up and to try to be an adversary that you have to overcome. Now, his primary way of dealing with people is deception, lies and deception. So if you can get at the truth, that's your greatest asset. Now, your ultimate greatest asset is the Creator who loves you and who is not only rooting for you, but has predetermined that you're going to win. You're going to be victorious. That's going to happen. It's predetermined. He's already decided that's the way it's going to be. You're going to have things that you're going to have to overcome. That's the way it's going to be. So, I don't have that scripture verse pulled up. It's the one with talking about the armor. It's the shield of faith, which is the shield of actually trust. So trusting the Almighty is your greatest shield. The sword of the Ruach, which is the breath and character and essence of Yahweh. That's your sword. The very character of Yahweh is your sword. Then you have the breastplate, basically the armor that's covering your torso. That's the uprightness of being according to Yahweh. It's actually being tzaddik, walking according to Yahweh and His ways. That protects your torso, your heart, your primary organ that keeps you going. So that's protection. And then there's, of course, protecting your crotch with truth. Protecting your crotch with truth. What is the crotch used for? There's a couple different functions that most people use their crotches for. One of them is to relieve themselves of unneeded processed body fluids, usually through urination. And the other is for sex. So you're supposed to protect your crotch with truth. Where do you find truth? Yahweh and His instructions. That's where you find truth. So even though everybody's got either has or has had or is going to have a sex drive, it's going to kick in, or it has kicked in, or it's already kicked in. It's going. But you protect that sex drive with truth, with what's true and according to Yahweh. So that is your armor, and your weapon is the Ruach, the very character of Yahweh, the essence of Yahweh, who He really is, who your Creator really is. That's your weapon. It's a good weapon, really good weapon, actually, very good weapon. So that's knowing your enemy. And the best way to know your enemy, the main enemy that you have of deception and lies, is to know the truth. And who is the truth? Yahweh is the ultimate truth, and His Son Yeshua is also the truth. His Son Yeshua said that every word that I speak is not from myself, it's from the Father. So the Father is the one that the words are attributed to. So when He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, when Yeshua says that, those words are directly attributable to the Father, even though they apply to Yeshua. So knowing the truth, that's the greatest. I think that's the way to dispel the lies and deceptions of the adversary, the enemy. And then also the armor that it's talked about, the helmet of salvation. So it's knowing in your mind that Yahweh's rescuing you, and He will bring you to a final state of rescue. That's your destination. Your destination, where you're going, is rescue. Yahweh will rescue you. So you have the helmet that's protecting your mind, your brain, I guess. I have another video on mine, but you know that Yahweh will rescue you, and He will bring you to the place of rescue. That's your destination. and He loves you. This is all for a purpose and a reason. Don't lose heart. Know your enemy. But I would say that even greater than knowing your enemy is knowing your greatest ally, who is Yahweh, and trusting Him, knowing who He is, knowing His character, and trusting Him, knowing what He's all about. Not just going with the surface level, because if you read Scripture, there's lots of surface level. And surface level can be very deceiving, and surface level can look like He's a horrible monster. But if you dig deeper, you find out that's really not the case. Really not the case. Knowing your enemy. But even more, knowing your greatest ally. And the people that you see around you are on the journey with you, and they're going to the same destination. We're all struggling through it. So, hope this is helpful. Feel free to leave any comments, feedback. I love learning, so if you have something to correct me on, that would be fine. Shalom, have a good day, night, evening, morning, whenever, and a very good life. Thanks for watching. Shalom, au revoir, sayonara, arrivederci, au revoir.